Okay, Google, tell me a joke. Good morning, comrades. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to snowy, frozen and white Nürburgring, which is the perfect occasion opportunity, since the track is closed, to make a video that I've been wanting to make for a very long time, namely to talk about my daily driver, the Polestar 2. Because officially it still belongs to Polestar, because I received it as a long-term loaner back in October 21. So I had this car for over a year now. I put almost 40,000 kilometers on it, which qualifies me as someone who could tell you a thing or two about what I really like and what I also really dislike about the car. Although Polestar gave me the car, I will be honest, because they gave me the car because I was honest about the cars. So enough talking, without any further ado, let's hop in the car and talk about this performance crossover EV, a thing that tries to be everything and actually succeeds quite well at it. Woohoo! A bit of naughty action, but it was performed on private property. So while now we're on on public road, we are going to behave ourselves. Which brings us to the very first point, the things that I really love about this car. It's its performance, starting with the power output. Currently this car is running 350 kilowatts, because previously it came with 300 kilowatts equaling 405 horsepower, I think, and right now 476, and 680 newton meters of torque, which allows it to accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour or 0 to 62 miles per hour in 4.4 seconds. Now, for everyday car, this is honestly all you need. There is nothing, like, you don't need more. That's even a bit too much maybe when it comes to the sacrifice that you have to make when it comes to the range. I will talk more on that later on. It has also proven multiple times on a racetrack that it can keep up with supercars on the straights, but more importantly in the corners.
You need to solve this. Yeah, but they overtake them and give you seems like
And that's the second point. This EV is hands down for me the best EV out there, and also one of the best cars in general when it comes to handling performance, thanks to, of course, the obvious lower central point of gravity that you have thanks to the battery in the floor, but also the Ergonomic suspension and the tremendous work that Joachim, my friend and the head test engineer, dynamic engineer, the guy behind the whole handling package, has delivered. We've seen it last year when we were driving on ice, that the way the car can rotate and drive itself and handle, and also on the track, eventually on tarmac, it's absolutely magnificent. Mwah! Now, the third point that I really love, and a lot of people will agree, of course, no, some will actually disagree, because design, taste is individual, but overall I really love the design of the car, because after all, also the company's CEO Thomas Ingelad, he is very design focused, design oriented, as well as Volvo, the mother company, and in this case of course also Polestar. Sweden design is extremely important, and you could also see, I can personally see, that whenever the car is parked in the car park or somewhere else, people are coming over and asking like, hey, what is this car? Oh, it looks very good. And especially with the lowering springs that come from Polestar, it has this tremendous stance. It is simply beautiful. I took this car on a holiday in Croatia, and this car was getting more looks, because Polestar is not present in Croatia as of now, I believe, like, wow, what is this, than any average other sports car or supercar. This design also is not only on the exterior, like the chassis, the wheels, the brakes, the stands, but also on the interior. Everything serves a purpose. It's quite minimalistic, which is very good in a way, because you don't have, I don't know, things that distract you, I would say, as a driver, which is good, especially when you drive at night. And you do have two main screens here, but they don't like flash and with too much of a white balance into you could say that. It's done with the purpose. I like that. Speaking of design, the headlights is not something I'm thinking of right now while driving during daytime with white covered snow, but at night they offer great lighting performance, and also make sure that you would come safe to your location and also well rested, because your eyes don't need to focus and concentrate too much, because the headlights illuminate the road quite nicely. Now, moreover, Android Auto. It has also Apple CarPlay integration, but the system is running on Android. What I really like is because you connect your Google account to it, and I'm an Android user, so the Google Maps is actually connected to the Google Maps that you are having on your phone. So whenever I have a trip that I need to go to, for me it's easier to browse the location of a destination that I'm going to through my phone and choose it in Google Maps. I preload the route, and in the following morning I hop in the car and the route is already here. I'm also saying it from perspective because many cars out there, many manufacturers, they use their own version of GPS, and you sometimes need to get used to it. Sometimes it's laggy, sometimes it's not that good, whereas Google Maps just simply works. And especially I can say, hey Google, navigate home.
Navigating to home.
That's it. And then it shows me the time of arrival, the battery state of charge that I will get there, and also the battery state of charge that I would potentially have if I will drive back to the same location where I started. So quite convenient. I like that. Moreover, the seat where I'm sitting in right now, the front seats, they are actually extremely good, and they, to be honest, they look average, like in terms of comfort. They're not bucket shaped, they're not like, they don't have a over excessive massage function or something. But last month when I drove to Croatia, which was 1700 kilometers, and the first stint with it was 1100 kilometers, it took us quite some time, like 15 hours with all the charging, with all the stops, but I came there completely rested, and I can drive also on the track quite comfortably because these are not leather seats, so they hold me in position very nicely. I drove a leather version for track performance, cornering performance. I didn't like it as much because there you would be sliding around, but these seats, they are really good. Now that's the front seats, because on the back seats I will tell you more about when we start talking about the honest negatives about the car. One more thing aside from the comfort is the seating position. This type of seat, this seat in particular, I can get very low, very close to the ground for performance driving. It's amazing, but also when you're a tall driver, it helps a lot. So you can sit lower and actually you don't feel like you're in the, I don't know, in the van or in the bus. So they did a pretty damn good job. When it comes to space overall, the car is pretty spacious, I would say. Most importantly for me, who has a girlfriend, or right now fiance, and 2 dogs in the rear, and as mentioned, we took this car to Croatia, which was fully loaded with gifts, food on the way back as well. Thank you, my mother-in-law. You can fit a lot of stuff in here. You would be surprised. And you have also a small compartment on the front, in the front. So as an everyday car, the car like really does it perfectly well. Moreover, the accessibility for every day. This is all I have. Like, my phone is my key, which has also slight negativity to it because I actually lost one of the actual fobs, like the actual keys, because the car recognizes my phone as a key and it goes open. So at some point I was somewhere, I don't know, misplaced the key and didn't realize that I misplaced it because I didn't really need it. It's a funny story, but it's how easy it is. And also you have quite a nice controllability through the app. You can preheat or pre-cool the car, which has a bit of, I would say it's very limited when it comes to controllability, because the car automatically sets the climate to 22 degrees as far as I get it. So this means if it's way too hot on a summer day and it gets here 40 plus degrees, it turns on the AC, so it will cool down the temperature to 22. When it's winter, you turn it on, and when it's minus temperature outside, it preheats the car, which is good because it also defrosts and defogs all the windows, and it helps a lot. The only downside, I would say, you cannot turn on the seat and steering wheel heating through the app. That would be a nice plus. And you cannot change the variable of the temperature, so it's always 22 degrees. Maybe you want it colder, maybe you want it hotter, but there's that. But it's overall quite nice. You can also set the timer, so in case every day you leave to work at 7:30 or 8 or something, you put the timer at that particular time, and it will defreeze or pre-warm the car for you or cool it down on a hot summer day. As mentioned, the app comes with a couple of drawbacks, and since we're talking about drawbacks, we can talk about the things that I not necessarily like them this much. So, as mentioned already previously with the seats, the rear seats, I'll be honest with you, they are one of the worst ones that I have experienced on a car. As a tall person, 1 m 83, 6'2", I think, in US measurements, in freedom units, that is, I don't know. I sat there for 1.5 hours. I had already like lower back pain when I was going to the airport one time when someone else was driving me and I was trying to take a nap on the back seat. For dogs, perfect. For small children, probably perfect. For a tall person like me, or I'm nagging or I have lower back problems, could be. What I'm getting at is, if you have a family with grown-up kids, you're considering this car, take it for a test drive. Polestar offers great test drive incentives, so you should really feel it out if it's actually good for you and for your beloved family and passengers. So back seats, something I quite dislike. They do come with the seat heating, so that is all good, but the comfort level is not really there. Now, another thing, I mentioned the defrosting, like the preheating, etc. It took me a very long time to figure out that the mirrors are actually heated if you turn the defroster button on. Why is that? Because majority of cars actually have a mirror button here for the mirror heater, including Polestar 1 that I had before this. So when I got the Polestar 2, I'm like, why is there no mirror heating? Well, maybe it's cutting costs. And then later I figure out, here's this button, it not only defrosts your rear or defogs your rear window, but also your mirrors. And it's something you need to figure out. Or of course, if you read the manual, but we all car guys, we know everything fast, we don't need the manual, we're gonna figure it out ourselves. The other thing related to that is that the fact that it switches off automatically, probably to preserve the energy after, I don't know, after it's done the job or after maybe 5 minutes. But then you keep on driving and it starts fogging again. You need to turn it on back on again once you realize that it's switched off. So that's like kind of minor inconvenience. Another thing on the interior, cup holder over here. Right now we have batteries for the camera here, and you might say like, oh come on, cup holder. But recently we could have seen that Chris Harris is selling his 992 GT3 Touring Porsche because he doesn't like cup holders. Something that I brought up as well, that cup holders on the 992 gen in comparison to 991 are horrible. But also here, let's talk about functionality. I'm driving, I'm the driver. I have my drink here. Like usually cup holders are in the front. We have an easy accessibility. It gets worse. First I was thinking there is only one. No, there is a second cup holder, which is over here, even further back. So as a passenger, you would have to go completely back. It's inconvenient. It's just like, no, it's it's there, but it's just like, you know, when you want to use it, it gives you like this awkward angle. My shoulder starts to hurt. I start complaining again. It's not that really nice. Small feature, but you know, when you use it as a car in the everyday, you'll be like, yeah, it could have been slightly better. Now, this is all actually fun and games. Let me tell you honestly, the main feature that I really dislike, and it's the range. Don't get me wrong, for everyday use, the car shows you have 400 kilometers range according to WLTP. I don't even know how much it is going to be. Never trust these actual things, but I seen that when I was driving to Croatia, 130 kilometers per hour on the highway in freezing temperatures, you get around 250 kilometers range. That's not really far. And then you need to pull over again, recharge on the highway at a very costly charger at 79 euro cents per kilowatt. This means a full charge costs you like around 60 euros. So then if you have a 1100 kilometer trip, that's like what, 250 euros ish. On the other hand, of course, if you use it as an everyday car and you charge at home and you're not driving more than 200 kilometers on a daily basis, it's a perfect car. It's great. It does as well. So I'm just bringing it out there because for the sake of honesty, and you do need to compare apples with apples and not apples with pears. So of course there are cars out there with longer range, also internal combustion engine cars, but they also lack somewhere else. But yeah, for me, the range, since I do quite often longer trips, and I'm like, I wish I could only go there on one charge and not on 3 charges, you know? That's for me, honestly, the thing. And I said in the beginning that the performance is great and maybe a bit too much. By now, Polestar has announced Polestar 2, the updated version, with the longer range version that should get you over 600 kilometers. If that's an actual case, I would go for a single motor without the performance package. Single motor, long distance range, and go with it. Because honestly, I had this car for over a year and I've probably done maybe like 20 laps with it. Overall, I don't need this car to drive on track. I need it for everyday use and for convenience. And speaking of charging, the updated Polestar 2 supports 200 kilowatt charging, whereas this one only does 150 up until 50%. So next one is significantly better, which is very good. Now, a couple of other things that, again, the minor things, minor inconveniences. The frunk, for example, when you use it to take out the cables or maybe something else, when you use it as a storage compartment and you close it down, it doesn't close immediately. Quite often you need to actually press it on one side or maybe on 2 sides, and on a dirty winter day it's like, I'd rather not be pushing a dirty, salty frunk. That's like a minor thing. Speaking of charging as well, the charging door on the back has this very inconvenient, I would say, like slightly annoying, not a door, but the cover for the high power charging, which is dangling on a rope. It's like, could have been more sophisticated, especially thinking of design. And final thing I would say is, although I praise the minimalistic design, sometimes it also comes with some drawbacks. Let me explain. So, for example, when I put in GPS, it shows me on the main screen how long it's gonna take me to get to the certain destination, what my state of charge is going to be. Whereas on the screen here, on the main one, I don't see this information. I only see the road and I see when I would need to turn left in what time, but not the actual time to destination. And this is something, I don't know, maybe as a race car driver, I want to know how long it's going to take me, the time to beat, But this means I end up running constantly the both screens on GPS here and GPS here. And the same goes for example, for Spotify or radio. This info is not being shown on the main screen. And sometimes it's easier when you have, like, you know, GPS here, Spotify here, or the other way around, or combined, so you know which song you're playing, etc., etc. So the information distribution is quite minimal. It's not like really that I'm really disliking and hating out there, but there's something, you know, I'm bringing it out there that could be improved for the future models, and it's quite easy to improve probably with some over-the-air update to have better interface. Finally, one last thing is the lane assist. I really like how it works. It keeps the lane very nicely, the distance to the cars, but the only thing that is for me as a drawback is that when you turn it on, it tells you you need to keep your hand on the steering wheel. But what actually means, you need to apply pressure to the steering wheel, because otherwise it's going to say like, hey, you are not holding the steering wheel, please hold the steering wheel. But I am holding it, but it wants you to actually like really pull it so it feels that you are pulling the steering wheel. And that's like sometimes like really annoying when you're like driving and it all of a sudden says like beep, like, hey, hold me close. Like, well, here it comes. I'm holding it. You can actually see, and it's going to say like, hey, do something. You see? All right. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say about Polestar. Of course, I now summed up lots of negatives, but let's be honest here. There were just like small nitpicking stuff that I really had to look for that would annoy me in everyday's life that could be improved for future products. There are no reliability issues. The car is not running out of brakes like some manufacturer cars do. The car is not trying to kill you with autopilot like some cars do. And you have seen me having this car every time, every day, throughout the season, driving on track, off the track, and to Croatia and back, and there was literally zero reliability issues. And most importantly, again, Polestar related to Volvo, safety is a big thing, and we could see last year when Robert had his car and he had smack-on collision because a car pulled out on him and he like crashed into it with 70 or 80 kilometers per hour, I don't remember, and he's happy. Well, he's fortunate enough to be alive and tell about it. So extremely safe cars on top of everything. Of course, even after mentioning all the negatives, you could still say that I'm extremely biased because I love the brand so much. I do love the brand a lot, but I try to be objective here. But for that case, in case you are one of the Polestar 2 owners, and I'm sure there are some watching this video, please let us know in the comments what do you love and what do you dislike, or maybe you absolutely hate about your car and what would you like to see improved. I guess that's kind of it. It's getting dark, so I'm gonna go home and see one of the upcoming videos at the Nürburgring, whether with or without Polestar. But wait, I still have it for quite some time, but I would like to swap it maybe for the new version, maybe if Polestar allows me to, for the updated one with a longer range and less power, because range is something that I'm kind of missing in this model. And if you didn't like my on-camera performance, maybe car can do better than I do. Okay, Google, tell me a joke.
What do you call a caveman's fart? A blast from the past.
No. Really? On that note, let's do another one. Okay, Google, tell me a joke.
This one will make you giggle. Or sigh. Why can't elephants use computers? Because they're scared of the mouse.
It's an ultimate dadmobile.